back to Slightly Twisted Female. I'm your host, Brittany RouXX. If you're new to the channel, please like, subscribe. If you want to support the channel, I have my PayPal in my description, cashApp. So I'm just going to jump right into this. This is a continuation of the political exploitation of trans kids is a form of child abuse. And we are going to look at a Vice News segment called Trans Kids in Texas Are Scared They'll Be Taken from Their Parents. And it's featuring a young boy named cashApp. And he is, I guess, from originally, gosh, I don't know. He lives in Texas now. I guess he moved to Texas. It was supposed to be like a more trans inclusive place. He's spoken to senators, and he's clearly very much has a stage manager of his mother, who seems to orchestrate a lot of this. He supposedly at 10 penned some really politically in-depth message to senators. It's clear that this is not coming from this child. I have a 8-year-old son. I have a 10-year-old son. Both of my children are, in advanced math, and they do really well in school. My older son, actually both have been identified as gifted. My older son has been identified as like high gifted, and I can tell you that even he doesn't have just sort of like the wherewithal or the grasp on just social issues and political issues to be able to put together and formulate a sort of speech regarding these really complex gender ideology issues. And a lot of this stuff, you come into understanding of this stuff as you go through puberty, as you age, and a lot of it has to do with maturity and understanding of human sexuality, of human sexual dimorphism, the sort of changes that go on with our bodies at puberty. And it's like, they always talk about, oh, my son was so, my trans son or my trans daughter was so afraid of puberty, and she was so afraid to get a beard and to have a low voice and broad shoulders. And it was just like, what kids are even thinking about that? What kids are, I don't, even kids who are excited about going into the puberty that is their own puberty, which kids are thinking about these things? And they're saying even at like 4 or 5 years old that they have an awareness of what happens during a puberty for men, a male puberty or a female puberty. And it's like, obviously someone's talking about this to them. And I feel like I can identify it so easily as the mother of 4 children. I have 2 boys and 2 girls, and a lot of this stuff just doesn't make sense. It does not sound like it's coming from the child. So let's take a look at, we're going to pick up where we left off because we had only done a small segment last time, and we're just going to get right into it because this is something else. So again, this is Vice News. Trans kids in Texas are scared they'll be taken from their parents, and it was posted March 15th of 2022, and it's starring cashApp and his stage manager mother.
Come on. All right. Show you upstairs.
So this is your room?
Yes, this is my room. This is Dolly.
Okay, and so just to be clear, so he's at his home where he moved, I guess, with his mom to be in a more like trans inclusive place, and they're inviting over Vice News, a Vice News reporter, to come sit with him and to interview him about a lot of these like really political issues, really adult topics. What kind of mother is giving their young child, who's apparently like so fragile and vulnerable and so mentally ill and so on the verge of suicide and all this other sort of stuff, what kind of a mother is giving access to their child to these adult reporters and to grill them? It's just, there's just no boundaries around this poor kid. And also the responses that he's giving a lot of times are very obviously coached.
Paradin's posters. She gave them to me after I sent her a letter.
Sorry, and one more thing. Notice how much this kid performs being a girl, performs femininity, how much this kid's concept of what it is to be a girl is like, you can tell he's altering his voice. I have little girls. I don't know any little girls who talk in this little thing, I guess maybe some kids. It feels really put on, and again, it's like, you'll see. It's very much a gendered performance.
In a big box of stuff. And she eventually sent something to me,
so cool.
And then over here are our beds.
Oh my gosh. How fun. This is, you guys, like, get to have a slumber party every night.
Yeah, we have bed tents. They're really cool.
So cool. Do you ever think about this sort of what ifs?
I obviously still feel worried and nervous, but I'm not exaggeratively worried because I know that we'll make it.
In those moments,
that is such a heavy thing to put on a child. Do you worry about the what ifs? And they've been drilling into this child that people hate trans kids, and you need to fight for your right to live, and they want to deny that you exist. And if we don't win this battle, we're going to war, this is a battle. If we don't win it, your whole future is very bleak. And then also when you're putting in kids' heads this whole idea, this was the mother who stood before the school board and was talking about the 41% suicide rate, and we've got to do this to protect trans kids. And they ultimately had rejected her. But again, we know that statistic is like bunk. Okay, and we've known that, and it gets parroted around by these lazy journalists and these overzealous political people who are pushing a political agenda. And a lot of these talking points we've already heard from the mother since his kid was 5 years old, and he's regurgitating them right back out. And you have an adult come and sitting in his bed, and you've got cameras in his face, and they're having these like serious talks, like, what's gonna happen, Kai? We're looking to you. You're the leader. We need you to tell us. Like, what? Dystopian Deep Dive says it's so sad. It really is so sad. It is sad.
Moments when you do worry, like, what are some of those thoughts that go through your mind?
Well, what if they took me away from mom? What if they arrested mom? What if they took me somewhere? What if they forced me to be somebody who I wasn't?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this child aware of that? That is a terrifying idea for a child. And again, you have to understand, kids see things, are very much in the here and now, and see things in very black and white, and they don't have full object permanence. And they have this like fear that if like, oh, something gets taken away and we'll never see her again, and going to jail. And these are like big, scary concepts for kids. And that's not something that your average kid is aware about, this sort of legislation, and maybe mom could go to jail. And you've seen with this mother, and you've seen with a lot of other mothers of these trans kids, have very much this like hero victim complex, this martyr, like, I'm putting myself on the line to like protect my child. And then it's like the child has some sort of responsibility to protect the mom. You're putting onto this kid that this kid has got to fight so that you can be safe from going to jail. And if the kid doesn't throw himself, in front of the mother, then she's going to be taken away, and it's like on him. It's such a huge emotional burden for a child. And again, children see things in a very grandiose scale. They don't have a good anchor. And another thing that is very scary for children is to believe that the adults don't have things under control. Children need to believe that no matter what, everything's going to be okay, that the outcome of everyone's well-being is not dependent on any decision that the child makes. The child's not responsible to make sure that we have enough food on the table. The child is not responsible to keep mom out of jail. The kid is not responsible to make sure that, mom doesn't lose her job, or that, the kid's not responsible for keeping the family together or fighting against CPS. And they have burdened this child with the sense that he's got to go to bat or he could lose his family. That sort of level of manipulation, of emotional manipulation, and they're saying, here's the script. You need to read this script and you need to enact this script. Like, you want to be able to, like the things you like, right? Well, mom's going out here and she's fighting for you, but she can't do it alone, Kai. She needs you, Kai. She needs you to go down to the senator, Kai. You've got to be the one to face down all of these adults, Kai, because if you don't, mom's going to the clink. Like, what? What? Not in your head lesbian says, exactly, Jazz Jennings, if you let your child live with the thought that they can lose their family, it's a big thing. That is a massive thing. Dystopian says, oh, this is Vice. Yeah, exactly. Boudica, parentification of the child is abuse. Absolutely. Absolutely. Not only do you see parentification of the child, where the child has to take on a sense of huge parent-like responsibilities for the family, but also this sort of like inappropriate proxy relationship. You see this sort of codependence where the parents are like telling too much to the child. And it seems like trans is this weird, like, permission slip for parents to just talk about anything and everything to kids. And we saw that with Jazz Jennings. We saw it with Jeanette, and even the dad would sit there and talk about, oh, are you having sex? Are you having, is he letting him like penetrate you? And I'm going to come in there and make sure you're dilating, and just, there's just total lack of boundaries. I'm going to come in there and I'll stick that thing in you myself. Like, what? And we're like, oh, okay, it's so cute. Oh, look at them. It's so strange. But hey, I like it. We're progressive. Hey, listen, this is 2022. Okay, we're moving on to the next frontier of being progressive. And it's, again, it's like, it's all about bringing down boundaries. It's about making, look at Desmond is Amazing, making these children into these miniaturized adults. And they have this romantic image of these kids who are, going to save the day, and they'll be the cover of Time magazine 20 years from now, is like, they were the ones who spearheaded the civil rights movement. It is abuse. It's abuse.
I always have these thoughts moving through my head. Like, what if this happens? Should I do this? Should I jump out the window?
Has that sort of escalated in the last few days?
It's been getting a bit worse, but whenever I needed some help or anything, I would let one of my friends know, like Sky, or let my mom know, and we would chat.
Okay, so this child is basically acknowledging that they have an anxiety disorder, that they are, chronically worried about having these sort of grandiose images in their head of people coming in to take mom away. And they've created a very real sense of fear and dread. And again, they pin it on, oh, it's these legislators that hate you. They hate trans kids. They don't want you to be yourself. And it's because they hate you that they're going to take mom away. Mom's willing to stand up for you. Don't worry. Mom will stand up to them. But, there's a chance mom could get taken away, little buddy. Mom's going to do her best. And the kid's like, oh, God. And then they're all looking at him, and they're like, and the fact that they've already saddled him with the responsibility to kind of take on this huge political uphill battle. And he's sitting there internalizing, is this my responsibility? Is this my job? This child has an anxiety about it. This child is saying, I worry about this. I worry about my family. He's 10. He's 10. That would be like when I had cancer. And I remember one time, even my son was like, my oldest son was like, hey guys, try to go easy on mom. Like, mom's really sick right now, and, she needs our help and all that sort of stuff. And I pulled him aside and I was like, I really appreciate that, but I don't want you to feel like I'm okay. I'm in the best hands in this country. We live in an area that has excellent care. I didn't even want to tell him. He had like overheard me on the phone with the cancer center and heard about it, and I talked to him about it. But I was like, I want you to know this is not your fight. Your only job is to just be a kid, go to school, do your best, help me out around the house, just do your normal responsibilities. But, we've got a lot of support, and it might be kind of just I might be gone, for appointments and stuff like that, but just know we have it under control. The adults, we've got this. You're okay. Everything's going to be okay. No matter what happens, we're solving these problems. They're not you to worry about, and you're good. But to like put that on kids, like, yeah, it would be like me going to my son being like, yeah, real sick, buddy. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Like, even when I thought that there was a chance that they thought that I had like a higher stage, and I'm like, shoot, my prognosis is not that great. And I didn't express that to my kids. As far as like, no, we're great, everything's fine. Parents, adults get this, but we're so lucky to live in a time where we've got great medical technology. Not even anything to worry about. Oh God, it's just sad. And the things that he's imagining, again, it's not stuff that kids just come up with on their own. Talking about, oh, I'm scared they're going to come in the middle of the night and take mom away. You can tell a lot about what's been said to a child when you listen to them talk like that, when they talk about their concerns. What year is it? It's from 2022. It's from March of 2022, this Vice thing. This is not old. So this is just a few months ago.
My mom's been with me my whole life. I wouldn't have made it without her.
Why have you been sleeping with me the last 2 nights?
Well, I have 2 reasons. One, so that I wake up on time. The second is because I'm a bit afraid of what's been going on.
Why is this child afraid that there are literally going to be like agents coming in and ripping him out of the mom's home? What the hell? What is going on? Sorry, I forgot my username. Says too many parents are out there trying to turn their kids into adults. Absolutely. It's like this romantic, glamorous thing. And like the mom, I don't know what her relationship is, if she's still with the dad, if she's got a lot going on. But again, you can see there's very much like a proxy relationship with Kai, right? She's very much like emotionally leaning on this child. And you see this with you see it with a lot of single moms. You do. You see a lot of single moms who will turn their sons into like a proxy boyfriend, and make them emotionally responsible for the mother. They've got to check in with the mom. They got to make sure. And it's an inappropriate, almost like romantic relationship, but it's like platonic, but it's like a marriage. Right? They function as like almost a husband and wife, going to the child for things that you would go to your adult partner about. This is the sort of lines, and it's so not acceptable. It causes so many anxiety and attachment disorders in kids, difficulty, with sort of letting that go, and, just a hypervigilance in kids, a hypervigilance. Why is he overly aware about these kind of higher level political conversations? He should be worrying about going to school, making friends, trying some new sports. Oh my God, it's so inappropriate. Yeah, it's totally a Munchausen by proxy. Absolutely a Munchausen by proxy. Aries says emotional enmeshment. Exactly.
You need to remember that there are what?
There are more people with us when it comes to stuff.
And you need to remember that it's my job to
worry, and it's my job to tell my story.
Okay.
Here are all the horrible things that can happen if, you don't get this bill passed with these adult legislators. But don't worry, it's mom's job to worry. No, just saying that means nothing after you've already dumped all of this stuff onto this child.
When the governor came out with the order a few days ago, what was your experience sort of seeing that?
Initially, just texting with other moms just to literally, and calling just to cry with each other. And then the text messages started coming. CPS called me today. And your heart drops. And you're just, this can't be happening. You're totally numb, and this can't be happening. And then, the next text message comes, and you're like, oh my God, this is literally happening.
So to be clear, the piece of like this doom and gloom piece of legislation that they're talking about, that they're so terrified of, is literally a piece of Texas legislation that says that any parent of a child who is being medically transitioned, meaning taking puberty blockers, which again is an off-label use of the drug Lupron that is used for late-stage cancers in men, androgen cancers in men, okay, prostate cancers, for late-stage prostate cancer. And that is all the, it is cleared as safe for by the FDA. It is now being experimentally used off-label to so-called halt the puberty in children. And we're already seeing, we saw with jazz, this is having almost immediately horrific consequences. And ever since jazz, we've seen like a movement away towards, oh, well, maybe medicalization, maybe, just we don't owe you femininity. Like, so that's what this is about. It's about the Texas governor saying that children and youth, children and families, and the Department of Human Services has an obligation to investigate any parent that's medically transitioning a child, right? Which is totally reasonable. It's not saying, oh, your child's wearing a dress and he's a boy. Oh, we're going to come rip him out of your house and we're going to, give him some G.I. Joes to play with and sort of whip him into shape. It's saying, no, you're not giving cancer drugs to a child. Okay, you're not chemically castrating a 10-year-old. No, I'm sorry, ma'am. You're not doing it. TPS says, my mom and I got really close friends when I was 17, but that's different. The rest of our family had died and I was almost at all. No, listen. And this is what I tell my kids. I always say, first of all, I'm not your friend and I'm not here to be your friend. My kids will tell you, I'm a very strict parent and boundaries. I'm not your friend. I don't care what all your friends' parents are doing or saying. I don't give a shit. Okay, because these are my rules. But I always say that, and I've talked about this with my friends, it's like the thing to look forward to is when you can appropriately be friends with your kids. Once your kids are out in the world and once they're adults and you release them to the world, you pray to God that you did a good job. You pray to God, that you did the best that you could do and that you equipped them with the most amount of tools and skills that they'll need to face the world and make good decisions. And you hope that you didn't saddle them with too much baggage. We're all going to saddle our kids with a little bit of baggage. You pray to God that you didn't give them too much, right? And you then pray for the best, and then you can act more as like a mentor or just a friend or a shoulder to lean on. And that's when, adult kids will start to like ask their parents about more of like, well, what were things like that you couldn't talk to me about before? What was your relationship like? That's appropriate. That's normal. That's healthy. That's like the thing that we work towards, and parenting is such a front-loaded job. When you parent hard and well early on, you get to enjoy being a friend to your child. When you let that go, when you try to be a friend to your child early on, you're going to have to make up for that time parenting, but it's going to be when they're an adult. You're going to continue parenting well into their adulthood because you didn't prepare them. You were too much, you cashed in on the friendship too early. Now you've got to make up for all the lost time. You've got to make up for the job you didn't do. And it's not so cute when they're 30, 35 years old.
What do we do? Who do we ask? Who do we call?
Do you talk to Kai about like what to do if a CPS investigator showed up? What to say, what not to say?
I did talk to her about if CPS were to show up at school, just get on her Instagram and go live and keep her phone on. And
this is a 10-year-old child. She's already giving her like a panic procedure. Oh, if they come to take mommy, make sure that you get on your Instagram. Make sure you make a big scene. This child is like waiting for the other shoe to drop at any moment. This leads to hyper vigilant, anxious children. Anxious children who are hyper vigilant. And again, the mom isn't The mom is probably sitting there coaching this child so much. Of course, she's going to be like, oh, well, I kind of just mentioned that. The fact that she was willing to admit that part on camera, I would love to see the part that she's not so keen to mention.
I told her the ways that I would be able to track her, and that I would come get her. Make no mistake, I will come get you.
Mm.
How about you say we're just not going to sit there. We're not going to experiment on your body, Kai, because you're beautiful the way that you are, and you can continue wearing whatever clothes, and, mom's in control, and I got you, and you're safe, and these things aren't your concern. And, there's a whole world of politics. And if you're interested in that sort of thing, that's something that you can study in college and get more involved in as you get older. But right now, that's just not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to be a healthy kid, to learn how to socialize, to figure out who you want to be in this world, and just to know that you're healthy and safe, and to just be happy where you are. She has made this child into an adult.
I've been getting paid $1,000.
So it's really sad. And just the way that this child is like quivering when he speaks.
I want you to think about Kai being taken from my home and given a boy's haircut and made to wear boy clothes and called by her dead name.
That's not the issue. That's not what this is about. You're the parent. You pick the goddamn kid's name. You're allowed to call your child whatever name you want. Plenty of kids have nicknames. Plenty of kids aren't called by their legal name. Plenty of kids end up developing nicknames that the family calls and that they're referred to. And of course, you're the parent. Of course, they have to honor that. That's not the issue. And it's not the issue. And that having this little boy grow his hair out long is also not the issue. Him wearing a light pastel version of red, aka pink, is also not the issue. What color light beams reflect back to the eye off of your child's clothing is not the issue. See, and that's again, it's the manipulation. Oh, it's because they're going to want to cut his hair and use his dead name. No. They are going to make sure that you're not chemically castrating this child. And again, these children can't consent. They don't understand what Lupron does. They don't understand what, having an inverted penis is like. They don't understand what an orgasm is or what they're giving up. They can't decide. They can't see that far into the future to know what it's like to fall in love with someone and decide that you want to start a family, and the heartache of realizing that you can't. Or that you're going to be a permanent medical patient for the rest of your life. Or, these have we know severe consequences. No. You're lying, you're sidestepping, and you're manipulating. That's not what this is about. That's not what Vice. Stop it. Stop it, Vice. You know that that's not what the bill says. Knock it off.
24 hours a day. Where no one will affirm her because they want to fix her. I will find her.
Within 48 hours of Abbott's directive, 5 Texas district attorneys declared their offices wouldn't pursue cases against parents of trans kids. And even some of those tasked with enforcing the directive disagree with it. One DFPS investigator agreed to speak with us anonymously. Do parents have to answer the phone, answer the door, or talk to an agent like you?
No. They can say no. They don't have to risk their releases. They don't have to let us in their home. I don't think the average person knows that.
You are risking your job.
Now, with that being said, I do have a problem with DHS in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of issues with the Department of Human Services when it comes to children, youth, and families. That's a whole other topic. There are issues with that. We know that keeping families intact is important. Okay, and I do worry about government oversight, thinking that you can reach your hands into people's homes and all that sort of stuff. However, when it comes to documented medical abuse, I don't even agree with removing kids who are being socially transitioned, even though I disagree with, the whole idea of transitioning children in general. But when it comes to medical abuse, that's a whole different story. That's just a whole different thing.
By talking to us, why is it that important to do this interview?
I know that these children are in great homes. I know they're not being physically abused. The first time I've ever talked to a reporter, that the reporter was crying. Excuse me, my apologies. My apologies. Made the comment that the family was impeccable.
Hold on for one